Okay, Assalamualaikum semua. Apa khabar? Saya harap semua orang sihat. Selamat menyambut Ramadan. Semoga kita diberi kesempatan untuk berjumpa Ramadan untuk yang beragama Islam. Memandangkan awak tak ada kelas hari Isnin, awak kena hadir atau dengar talk daripada industri. It's good for you. I hope you enjoy it. So we need to have asynchronous class lah, kelas yang tidak synchronized. So you take your time to listen to this lecture. Okay, this is a lesson 2. We are going to look into unstructured data or further detail on unstructured data. So a little bit recap from last week. We have learned about ada beberapa benda yang kita dah belajar minggu lepas. First, we have learned about types of data, sources of data, and then we have looked into the analytic. What is data analytics? Okay, and then kita dah tengok pasal the motivation why people are talking about data analytics nowadays. And if you listen to the video, ada macam-macam istilah tapi benda tu adalah sama sahaja. Ada business analytic, ada business intelligence, ada orang cerita pasal data analytic, data mining and many more. Tapi bendanya sama, iaitu you have a data, do some processing and you want to get some insight from the data. Okay. So these are the content of the slide. Okay, you should know there are three main topic that we are going to learn. First is what is NoSQL database and what are the difference between NoSQL and SQL database and types of NoSQL database. So what is NoSQL databases? Okay, it's a type database. It's a non-relational or not only SQL database. As compared to RDBMS, RDBMS is built on relational database. Okay. However, in NoSQL database, we are not stressing about the relationship between the table. So it stores and retrieves data is not modeled in row and columns. So we are against the concept of row or columns. But to madam, this documents we are going to look into. There are several types of NoSQL databases. So not only SQL may support SQL-like query languages. You can use SQL query. Okay, however, apa yang membezakan? Satu, we do not need to specify tak perlu relationship between the table. So tak ada primary key lah. So you do not need to specify. And second, we are not going to use a row and column representation. Tak ada. Okay. That's a NoSQL database. NoSQL distributed database infrastructure has been the solution to handling some of the biggest data warehouse on the planet. For example, Google, Amazon and the CIA. So you may look into this website later kalau awak nak tengok antara applications. So the concept of NoSQL database, the beauty of it is you do not need to represent the data in terms of row and column. So kenapa bila tak perlu pakai bila kita tak perlu pakai row and column ni, kenapa the biggest data warehouse wants to use it? Because some of the data, dia punya karakteristik is it has more than one attribute. Contoh macam ni lah. Okay, imagine awak tengok satu produk dekat Shopee. Okay, ni page Shopee katakan. So this is Shopee. So awak tengah tengok kasut raya. So kasut seller dia nama seller ABC. Okay, produk ni by seller ABC. So di sini ada pictures, ada 5 pictures, ada 5 pictures. Okay, and then there is a price, ada price kat sini, ada nama seller, and this ada review. Bawah ni ada review. So review tu ada banyak review, let's say ada 700 reviews. Together ada macam-macam jenis, ada gambar, ada orang komen, ada teks lah, maknanya teks, ada star, rating. Okay. And you cannot expect how the review will grow. Dia 700, mungkin esok tengok ada 700.5 and so on. So bila kita tak perlu specify row and column, the growth of the data, okay, we do not need to handle the growth of the data. Kalau awak dah buat column, contoh kalau buat dalam bentuk table, okay, contoh table, awak buat table kat sini, table product katakan. So product, so first mungkin ID, product name, price, okay, tu boleh handle lah. And then siapa seller, katakan nama seller siapa, seller ID. How about review? Okay, review dia ada lebih daripada satu, ada 700. So takkan nak provide 700 row. How to store the review? That's the question. So that's why NoSQL database helps to solve this kind of problem. Banyak lagi benda-benda lain yang berada di sekeliling kita. If you look into it, the attributes may have several value, 100, thousands, and we cannot specify the number of value. So when you do not need to store the data in terms of row and columns, okay, it remove the headache of the database engineer untuk decide banyak mana storage or space that we want to specify for these attributes. So tak perlu nak fikir untuk attribute review nak kena letak berapa row. Macam nak store review, berapa column letak, review 1, review 2, review 3, kalau ada 1000 review. Tapi mungkin juga produk ni produk baru, dia ada 1, 10 baru review. Takkan nak sediakan 1000 columns dah. Okay, so traditionally kita nak store, macam mana kita nak store review ni? Biasa kita akan store macam ni lah. Review 1, review 2, review 3 sampai review 1000. Okay, it's not a good practice. So NoSQL solve this kind of problem. The second difference between SQL and NoSQL is, so SQL database we know, we store the data in table concept, okay, in row and column. So you have the row and you have a column. Column represent the attributes and row represent the data. Okay, so each row represent a different data. Okay, so as compared to NoSQL database, the data is stored in JSON file or in key value concept. You can store in term of graph. JSON ni we know it known is as document. Okay, key value, graph or column database. Okay. The third difference is a new properties can be added, simply added for NoSQL database. As compared to SQL database, adding new property or attribute may require altering the schema of the database. Okay, so what is the schema of the database? We are going to look at in point number 6 later on. And then the number 4 is the NoSQL database is good for semi-structured, complex or nested data. However, a SQL database is good for structured data. untuk NoSQL database, it's good for semi-structured data and for complex or nested data. However, for SQL, it's good for structured data, as we know. And then relationship are captured by denormalizing data and presenting all data for an object in a single record. So kita nak tahu apa relationship dia tu, kita kena present dalam single record. Nanti awak tengok lah, it's a little bit tricky lah to look into the relationships. You have to do some SQL to find the relationship. However, in SQL, it's really easy. You can use join to find the relationship between table. You want to find the data between two or three tables, you can just use join query and so on. And then, however, the good thing is for NoSQL, it's dynamic or flexible schema as compared to SQL database is strict schema. Okay, lupa pula. Schema. Do you remember what is database schema? Schema is the description about the database itself. For example, we have database student. Okay, database student. So let's say you have tables course student. So table student ada berapa attributes? Let's say you ada 6 attributes. Ada attributes name. Okay, so what? Ada ID. Okay, this is maybe string. ID is a primary key and it is integer. So these are the schema. Okay, so usually bila kita nak ubah table, nak tambah new column, okay, nak tambah type of data, you have to change the schema. And sometimes kalau data dah ada dalam table tu, it will affect the whole databases. Okay, the problem nanti. However, as compared to NoSQL, it won't affect your data. Okay. So this table represent the difference between the NoSQL and SQL database. You may look into it later. Okay. Where we can apply, where we can use this NoSQL database. This is an example case study. Building a social media website. Social media website is social media website. What are the examples of social media website? Banyak. Antaranya Facebook is a very famous and very common to us. And then there is a Twitter account, Instagram, a lot of social media. So in social media, we know that users can post article with related media like pictures, video, or even music. User can comment, give point rating, give thumbnail, thumbs, and so on. They can see a feed of posts. User can interact with the main website, can interact with the users, and so on. So if you want to put a relational model, if you want to use relational RDBMS to design the website, it may looks like something like this. This is just a post. Okay, let's say that we have an entity post. And post you post something, and post may have many comments created by many users, and then there is a point assigned by many users, and many more. So if you look at this diagram, this relational model, it's very complex. It's very complex and the redundancies. And if you try to avoid redundancies, for example here, redundancies, okay, there are more than one users. However, if you want to avoid a redundancy, it will be a looping, which we have to avoid that in a relational model. So what the best solution? So instead of using relational model, we can use NoSQL model. So this is an example. It uses a document base. Okay, this is JSON file. So we have ID. So each document represent one post. Okay, posting kat Facebook bola awak tu lah. Okay, and then the post, it has ID, post title, and it has a date, and it has a body. Okay, body represent what you are saying. Okay, and then there is you can put who are the users, and then the video if any, and the audios, and you can add more comments here. So comments can be any comments. Comments may come from a lot of type of comments. Ada star, ada like, and so on. So in general, it has one query, no joins, and no schema is maintained. Apa maksud no schema is maintained? User can add ataupun the post can receive as many comment as it can be. Okay, and then if you want to find the who comment, who is the comment, who makes the comment, you can just look at this document, and it will show all the attributes related to the comment. Kita tak perlu nak connect number of tables again and again. Okay. So this is the difference. If we look, these are another example. Okay, ini contoh yang saya buat tadi lah, contoh Shopee. Okay, dalam Shopee ada banyak produk. Okay, Shopee kan, dalam Shopee ada seller, ada buyer. Okay, seller ada produk. Okay, produk akan ada macam-macam data assigned to product. Okay, so if you use SQL methods, product needs to be in a different table. It has a descriptions, and then each product may have a comments table, the review which is comment